Legends, and we're pleased to be here at Dackwoods this afternoon to honor Mr. Mike Leary for his work with Explore Austin. A couple of folks I'd like to introduce as VIPs. Mike Brower, who's going to be our speaker and our presenter today. Mike Leary and his wife Lisa. And of course we have other folks from Explore Austin here, correct? Very good. What I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about Recognize Good, how we get started and what we do. And we'll have Mike come up and give us the background on Mike Leary, and we'll make some presentations. And then Mike Leary has a chance to take the stage and make any rebuttal remarks that he needs to. We started Recognize Good as a way to say thanks. It's an internet capability that is dedicated to illuminating the good that we see every day in our world. We started out by having a capability of saying thanks on the internet, and when we saw that some of the thank yous coming in were far superior to the average ones, we had an idea to recognize those folks, and so we came up with the Legends of Recognize Good, what we now call the Recognize Good Legends. And so Recognize Good is a way to say thanks to friends, family, acquaintances, either locally or around the world, and to recognize someone like Mike Leary and even Steve Bartley, a past legend, for the great things that they've done. In illuminating the good that we do in this program, we have the Legends as one capability. We also have what we call the Lighthouse Award, and that's an award we give to civic organizations for the work that they've done. And in that organization's name, we donate $150 to the Personal Energy Transportation Project here in Austin, PET. And that's an organization that builds tricycle carts for people who've lost the use of their legs. We also have education, ethics and youth education programs where our guys will go out and talk to high school students to talk to them about ethics and prepare resumes and how to conduct themselves in ethical manners. And we also have another program that recognizes individuals, nonprofits, large, medium, and small businesses, and it's called the Ethics in Business and Community Awards Program. And that is an annual event where we recognize those businesses and those people who display daily the highest standards of ethical behavior. So what we're going to do now is talk a little bit about the Recognize Good Legends program. I gave you the background and the genesis, and what we do is we make a $1,000 donation in the Legends name to an organization of his choosing. In this case, it's going to be Explore Austin. And Mike, this is just the start of the journey. This is not a one-time deal, because what we'll do in January and February, and probably getting started in November and December, is to start working on our Say Thanks Austin campaign. In Say Thanks Austin, we have a program where people from around the world can say thank you to Mike or other legends or all of the legends every day for about 25 days. And the legend receiving the most thank yous will get a $10,000 paid forward donation in his or her name to the organization. When we started back in 2010, our first Say Thanks Austin campaign was in 2011. We averaged about 4,500 thank yous. Second year, about the same thing. Then it jumped to 16,000. Then it went to 63,000. And last year, with some innovations in social media and some folks who are really dedicated to getting the word out, our number of thank yous jumped to $179,000. So, enough about Recognize Good and the legend. Oh, you can see some of the legends we have over here from 2014. Each individual is unique in his own way. Every ceremony is unique. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike Brower at this point to give us some background on Mike Leary.
Thank you, George. If I may, I'd just like to begin by saying thank you to Recognize Good, and thank you to you, George, and Mr. Bosch for coming in and helping us shine a light on the good things that our good friend Mike Leary is doing in the community, has been doing for 8 years now. Well, and then beyond, but 8 years with Explore Austin. So the first time I met Mike Leary, I think it was June 3rd, 2009. I was starting with Explore Austin, and the first task I had was to poll our existing 11 mentors and ask them what mentoring Explore Austin was like. What were the challenges? What were the successes? And what could we build on? And what do we need to improve? And Mike was one of my first survey participants. And Mike at that point was 3 years into his 6-year mentoring commitment with Explore Austin. And that relationship has grown. Now Mike is my boss, sits on our board of directors. And in between that time, Mike finished mentoring with Explore Austin for 6 years. One of his explorers, Guillermo right here, is a true testament and credit to Mike's unswerving commitment to caring about others. And I'm happy to have you here. So, what is it about Mike Leary that makes him so special? I'm going to turn this on Mike. I'm going to speak for him a little bit. Mike's had a chance to officiate 2 weddings. Mike has used the Explore Austin ACES leadership framework in both of these ceremonies, and I just want to maybe shine the light on some ways that you've not just talked about ACES but lived it. And I'm actually going to wrap with our values and how you've done that. So ACES stands for Action-Oriented, Courageous, Excellent Teammate, Strong Communicator. I took some notes, and I'm not going to let myself forget my examples here. But Mike Leary has exhibited. So there's a quick example of Mike Leary being action-oriented. This is November of last year, so just 6 months ago. Mike volunteered. I sent out an email. We're nominated to be a part of a poker tournament with an Entrepreneurs Foundation, and we had the chance to win $10,000. Does anyone want to come with me to the poker tournament, sit at a poker table, play poker, lose as fast as you can, and then go buddy up with someone who's a really good poker player? Because at the end of the night, that poker winner is going to decide to give us $10,000 or not. Mike was all over it. Steps up, action-oriented. And not only does he come and just play the way you think he might play, he comes and he's taking notes about who's who in the room and about who we need to not only follow throughout the night, but follow up with after the event to tell more about Explore Austin. Could not ask for more action-oriented, dedicated, committed individual. Explore Austin. I wish I had an army of Mikes. Okay, so
Fun night.
it was a good night. Okay, so C, courageous. Mike Leary I've never asked Mike, hey, would you mind reaching out to Bobby, Johnny, Jill, CEO, foundation trustee, and introduce yourself out of nowhere, explain what Explore Austin's about, and ask them if they would get involved with us. He's done it countless times, more than a dozen times, and continues to do that to this day. All right, action-oriented, courageous, excellent teammate. What makes Mike an excellent teammate in my mind is that not only does he do what he's asked, not only does he do what he's supposed to do, what he hopes to do, he does it in a way that people enjoy. Mike's fun. Nobody in here would say, Mike Leary's a nerd. It's just not a thing. And I actually might ask these guys, what's going on? Mike Leary's an excellent teammate because he makes what we do fun. Strong communicator. Now, my example of Mike being a strong communicator is never tiring of using our ACES acronym. Our ACES leadership framework comes up in Mike's conversation all the time. We were talking about other committee members for his development committee, and he said it goes back to ACES. Who's action? Literally, we had this conversation yesterday. Okay, so and as much as becoming a leader is important in Explore Austin, the way we become leaders is exceptionally important to me. Explore Austin mentors, board directors, advisory council members, explorers, parents, brothers, sisters, care, connect, and commit. And one of my first experiences with Mike Leary around caring was one of Mike's explorers, I'm talking about JD, one of Mike's explorers, well, actually, I'll just tell you my perspective. I get a phone call from Mike, and he's telling me, hey, I just got off the phone with JD, and he was telling me that he's not going to make it to the Saturday Challenge tomorrow. What's going on? Well, he decided to call me and let me know that he got in trouble with his mom, and he's going to be tied up tomorrow. not free, not real free. And JD verbally threatened his mom and ended up going to spend the night in the county jail. Came out. Mike was the first one to meet him and greet him, and then later when JD, I don't actually remember the context, but Mike rallied a bunch of friends, a bunch of people that didn't really know JD, and said, "Hey, let's help JD get out of this mess." It was a different mess. We work with kids that get in messes, some less so than others. And so anyway, that's Mike being caring. Mike's been around Explore Austin and dedicated for like 9 years. When we talk about commitment, there's no one I can point to. Myself, our founder. I mean, you might make a case for our founder, Jamie Matthews, but second to Jamie, Mike is our shining star of commitment to Explore Austin. And Mike is naturally a connector. Ultimately, we're talking about this is a relational organization. We're about mentoring. If people can't come, and if these explorers don't get someone who cares about them and is broken through, right? If Mike didn't care about you and he didn't connect with what you were about, you'd find something else to do on Saturdays, am I right? So all that to say, I couldn't be more glad, honored, and obviously verbose about how proud of you we are, and how I hope that other community members see what you're doing and say, not only is that a high bar, but it's something I can do and it's worthwhile. So, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Okay, rebuttal.
You need to stand right here. Mike, if you stand over here.
All right.
Steve, if you would join us. And one of the things I wanted to highlight, when we talked yesterday, you told me about what Explore Austin does, and it really resonated with me. Steve can attest to this, both being involved in Civil Air Patrol and the U.S. Air Force for a number of years. Having to rough it was no cable in the living quarters. So what do you guys do with the young men and women?
Instead of telling you what Explore Austin does, I'd be foolish if I didn't ask Mike to talk about what Explore Austin does.
Wow. What are the 12 words? Use them all the time.
The mission of Explore Austin.
Give the mission.
12 words. It's to change the lives of underserved youth through leadership, mentoring, and adventure.
Very good.
So we've got 6 years of that. How much time do you have? There's a lot of stories to tell. I think through the explorers who are here today, Guillermo and Daniel, welcome. I can jump in. There's a lot to share, but I think the stories could maybe highlight your question. If that's all right. Is that good? I don't want to throw you off here, but first off, thank you. Austin is filled with so many great nonprofits, and slightly embarrassed that I hadn't heard of Recognize Good previously, but obviously now I'll be a big promoter. When I look up on the board here and I see right at the top, the Boys and Girls Club of America of Austin, that's where I first, growing up, that's where I had my mentors. So kind of ironic that, I sit in this room and I see that the Boys and Girls Club of Austin is recognized, but that's truly where I, have my mentorship roots. When we moved to Austin, it seemed like everybody that I was connected to and fell into a great group of people, was involved in some nonprofit to some extent, some very involved. And so I reached out to Jamie Matthews and Jamie's sister-in-law, Sarah, and I just said, I'm tired of being on the sidelines. You've known me for a couple years now. Can you help me find a nonprofit that I can contribute and give back to? And I feel really lucky that I found Explore Austin, right? I think it's just a natural fit, and the recognition is, thank you, but it's fun. Like, the journey's been awesome, right? When you get to mentor, students from 6th grade, where I was mentor number 4, and we had to go pick up the vans, and we had to go put air in the tires, and we had to get maps on where we're going. It was a little bit of a cluster. It was a little bit unorganized. But let me tell you, how many mentors do we have today?
95.
We have 95 mentors today. It's a well-oiled machine, and so that's a shout out to, I truly represent the mentors, right? That needs to be said first and foremost. 95 mentors, all rowing in the same direction, and Some of the Saturdays are challenging. There's Saturdays that I woke up that I had invitations to go do other things, right? But each of these mentors is truly committed to this. So when you say 6 years, say 9 years, it sounds like a long time. I think there's a little gray hair to prove, that duration. But we have some great stories and some great memories. I'll share a couple with you. I think they took place on two different summer wilderness trips. So to talk a little bit about Explore Austin, one Saturday a month is dedicated to leadership through various activities, outdoor activity, leadership through outdoor activity. And then there's some community service that's tied into that as well. But we were invited out to the Johnson Ranch, and Lucy Baines Johnson was she gave our tour. So think about, I hadn't been out there, but we have 15 of our explorers, and we're going to do this tour, and she's going to talk about her father and where he had his political meetings, where they celebrated their holidays, and then down by the river there, she had endless stories. And we did this on bike. But one of the explorers, Giovanni, he would ride about 5'10". You talk about being action oriented and courageous. Maybe not a strong communicator in this situation, but he would ride for 5 or 10 yards and fall down. Another 5 or 10 yards and fall down. And I saw it one time, one of the other mentors saw it another time, and within like 5 minutes he's bleeding and he's still trying to get on his bike. Well, this is a big concern because we're going to Colorado to do a mountain biking trip, and he gives 100% every time. So we put it on Giovanni, and this is kind of a life lesson that we're going to Colorado and we want you to come, but you cannot come based on your skill set of being able to ride a bike. Long story short, will you guys agree that Giovanni was one of the strongest riders over the 90 miles that we did on that Colorado trip?
Yeah, that was the year before we.
Oh no.
Can you work with me a little bit? So yes, he was incredible.
He was incredible.
The other story from the Lucy Baines Johnson Ranch trip was, these guys write in journals, and I would often ask them, may I read your journal? And some were open about it, and when they said no, they probably didn't write in their journal that day. But there's a classmate, a teammate, a fellow explorer by the name of Temo, and he said, yeah, sure. And Temo was always very articulate with his journal entries, and this particular, I hope I don't hack the quote, but the takeaway was, if a boy from Texas can grow up in a small town and grow up to be president, I feel like I can go on and do great things in this world. So I still get chills when I say it. Those are, one of many. I'm going to share one more. Were you on the snow trip?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. So we wake up one morning and we're climbing. Do you remember what we climbed?
We climbed up Mount Baldy.
Mount Baldy. Nice. And what is Mount Baldy?
So continents.
How high is Mount Baldy?
Like 7,000.
It's a 14er.
Wasn't
Right.
that long speed though?
Yes.
Gotcha on that.
You did.
Yeah.
But we wake up this one morning and it's July, and we've got 2 feet of snow on the ground, like filled with the tent, right? And I think it's a disaster, right? Here we have these kids from Austin. They're used to 100-degree weather here in July, and not only did it turn out to be just an amazing experience for all of us, but by the time I could even get out of a tent, they had made an entire living room out of snow. Like, it's where we hung out for like 4 days, and by the time we got to the top of the mountain and came back down, our living room had melted, right? But that's when you talk about first. For a lot of these explorers, it's a first plane ride, it's first time being away from home, first time camping, first time seeing snow, first time to experience success in climbing to the top of the mountain, first time experiencing failure as a group, and what do you do with that? Like, how do you rebound? How do you apply that? So our group was made up of 3 mentors, right? You had Mark, the wise owl, campfire, guitar playing, jolly, and then come again.
Mafia playing guy.
There's certain things we don't talk about. Just kidding. And then the other one, Jason, was in the military, got in a lot, some trouble growing up, and so he could relate on that level. And then, in my job, I'm, a sales connector, relator, and so there was continuous mentor opportunities. But that chemistry with our mentor group really worked. So, again, thank you. Honored to be here. Anything I missed? Okay. Anything I missed? No? We're good? Okay.
All right. So if you guys would swap positions, I'll make a few presentations.
Cool.
You ready? The first is the mug and a $100 gift card.
Well, thank you so much.
Not to you, to him.
We can Mike.
Nice trick.
Mug and $100 gift card.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not for you, it's for him.
Work with me on this one. Okay, the second is the bromeliad.
Bromeliad.
Right. And you can hand those to Steve, that's his job over there. All right, that is a
human shell.
a token for you to remember this day by.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
The name of the plan again?
The bromeliad.
Bromeliad.
Why you? I know you.
No,
did
you
that.
said it so nicely. I
Okay.
wanted to-
Then the Book of Good Deeds.
Oh.
High school graduation. Thank you.
And this is a photo opportunity. We'll have opportunities to take pictures afterwards.
Mike, I present you this check.
Thank you.
Let's present me. Congratulations.
Okay. Then this is the good one.
Oh, here, hold this one.
Together.
Together.
Now, Mike Leary, I have one thing for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Would you present that to our speaker and presenter? A gift mug and a card.
All right. Okay. All right.
Try again.
Mike, thank you for your leadership with Explore Austin. Honestly, your continuous zeal and enthusiasm in promoting the brand. I think it makes it easy, and we've come a long way as a nonprofit organization, doing great things. So, thank you,
Mike. I appreciate it.
You bet.
I do.
You bet.
Definitely.
Okay, Mike Leary, the floor is all yours.
I'm just gonna wrap up with a thank you. I mean, you guys have come here. I see some of my fellow board members and friends and fellow mentors, my explorers, other board members, and the folks from Recognize Good. I just say thank you, and I leave it with, it is truly 95 mentors, our advisory group, a ton of promoters within Austin that make it a great organization to connect with our explorers in 6th grade and see that development for when they graduate from high school. That's the real reward. So, thanks.